Most first-time Mediterranean cruisers make at least 3 of these mistakes. Don't be one of them. Booking a Mediterranean cruise feels exciting, but without the right knowledge, it's easy to make rookie mistakes. Even experienced travelers can struggle with picking the best routes, understanding port logistics, and making the most of their time aboard. I'm revealing 11 must-know tips to help you book smart and cruise like a pro. But this last tip, something most first-time cruisers never consider, but skipping it can completely change your experience for the worse. So what are they? Let's get started. Choose the right itinerary for your interests. Not all Med cruises are the same. You got Eastern Mediterranean, you got Western Mediterranean, just like you got Eastern Caribbean and Western Caribbean itineraries, it's the same thing. Eastern Mediterranean cruises focus on Greece, Turkey, Croatia. Western include Italy, France, and Spain. So know where you want to go. Port intensive versus relaxation focus. Some itineraries, you're literally going to stop in a different port every single day, maybe one sea day the whole trip. Other ones, you're going to have more sea days. You're going to be in ports less. You're going to be enjoying the beauty of the Mediterranean, on sea. So look at that itinerary, get familiar with it, figure out which is more important to you on this next trip. You could do it 5 more times, 15 more times, and pick a different one each time. Small ports versus big ports. Just like in the Caribbean, there are different size port docks in different cities in Europe. If you choose to go on a Mediterranean cruise on a smaller ship, it's because they have that smaller ship there because some of the ports they're going to are smaller and they can't fit the big ships. Same thing if it's a big ship, you're going to bigger city, arguably bigger cities, okay? So smaller ships visit less crowded ports like Kotor and Santorini. When you look at your itineraries for the Mediterranean, know what you want to see, because looking at a Mediterranean itinerary is a little bit different because you're going to see, port names that you're not familiar with. Okay. So if you're lucky, the cruise line will have in parentheses the name of the big city nearest to it. So like if you're going to Italy, you're going to, one of the ports there is Civitavecchia. What is Civitavecchia? Well, okay, in parentheses, it's the closest port to Rome. So if you want to go to Rome and you're on a large cruise ship, you're pulling into Civitavecchia, and then you got a give or take 90-minute drive to Rome. Okay. So if you don't recognize the names, just Google them. Hey, what big city is near Kotor? Where's Santorini? Things like that. That way you know where you're going. Next, consider the cruise line itself, because not all cruise lines are equal. In the big scheme of things, you've got luxury, you got mainstream cruise lines, okay? Luxury lines are like Seabourn, Silversea, Regent Seven Seas. They offer more personalized service, the ratio of the passenger to the employee, the cruise employee, is better. So you're going to get theoretically better service. The ships are, I think, more beautiful. Yes, you're going to pay more, but you're also going to get that level of service. Now, don't get me wrong, there's absolutely nothing wrong with Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Celebrity, those. It just, they cater more towards families. Seabourn, Silversea, they cater more towards singles and couples, not so much towards kids. So if you want to do a Mediterranean cruise with your 8 and your 10 and your 12-year-old, I would look at the larger cruise lines. Some cruise lines are focused more on cultural experiences, like Viking. Some are more focused on entertainment, like Carnival, like Royal Caribbean. So do you want to learn more about the culture in Italy, France, and Spain, or do you want to be in port and get to see all the cool things in port and then just have a big old party at night? You got to figure out how you like to cruise, not just where you want to go, but how you want to cruise. Do you want to be pampered, or do you want to have fun? I mean, you still have fun on the luxury, don't get me wrong, but there's not 8 different, live events going on every evening on a Seabourn ship. Okay. Size matters. Larger ships offer more amenities, more activities, more things to do, more places to hang out on the ship, but they have limited access to ports. Remember, Icon of the Seas is not going to fit at the pier in Santorini. That ship is probably 3 times the size of their port. Okay. Do your research, talk to your travel agent. If you're dealing with a travel agent like me, tell me what you want to do. What's the reason for the trip? Why do you want to go on a Mediterranean cruise? Okay. And that will help you figure out which cruise line, which ship, and which itinerary to put you on. Timing. Timing is very important with Mediterranean cruises. High season, if you live in the upper part of the US, their high season is our summertime, June to August, because that's when it's warm. Okay. Europe gets cold in the wintertime just like half of the rest of the world. So their high season is June to August. That's when it's warm, but that's also when it's crowded and expensive. Not just because of cruise ships, but because Paris gets, I think, I want to say like half of their annual visitors in that 90-day period of time. Okay. And it's not just cruise ships. It's people coming from Great Britain over to Paris and people coming from other countries flying in and wanting to be in Paris. Okay. My suggestion, I would avoid that time just because I don't like crowds of people and I don't like paying more than I need to for something I want to do. I prefer going during the shoulder season. Think of it, head and shoulders, okay? The head is high season, June to August. Shoulder season, the opening shoulder season is April and May. June to August. The end of the year shoulder season is September, October, okay? I'm traveling during these periods of time. It's fewer crowds, it's more pleasant weather, and it's lower prices because it's fewer crowds. To me, all of that works to my benefit because I don't have to be sweating, buckets because it's 95 degrees with 180% humidity and paying 18 pounds, or not pounds, but, 18 franc or whatever, $18 for a cup of coffee. Off season, November to March, fewer options. A lot of things are closed. It's cold weather. But, there are some great deals to be had in that off season because they're really trying to get people on board the ship because not many people travel to Europe during that time of year. Packing for your med cruise, do some research, figure out what the weather's like while you're there. If it's June, August, if you're going during high season, bring shorts, bring t-shirts, bring comfortable walking shoes, bring an umbrella or some sort of rain gear because it does rain over there during the summer. Okay. Layers are important over there because morning and evening tend to be cool, even in the high season. But the afternoons, when that sun's beating down, you're getting hot. Respect local culture, especially if you're going to be visiting, some of the 500, 800-year-old churches and other religious sites. Wear modest clothing. Ladies, bikini tops, no. Modest clothing. Whether you believe in their religion or not doesn't matter. You're in their home, you're in their house. They're not going to allow you to come in and disrespect them. So pack some modest clothing. You want to wear, guys, if you want to wear your Speedo on the pool deck, have at it. It's not going to fly, going into, St. Peter's, okay? Comfortable shoes are a must. You're going to be walking a lot and you're going to be walking on cobblestone streets. You're going to be walking up and down hills. There's a lot of walking. So make sure you have good shoes for it. Budget your port expenses and excursions. You're going to be spending a fair amount of money. Okay. Definitely research your excursions ahead of time, well in advance of your cruise, because you're going to get sticker shock. It's arguably some of the most expensive excursions you're going to see because a lot of these places, it takes a bus ride, a 30, 60, 90-minute bus ride to get to where you want to go. And then you're trying to get into the Colosseum or, the Vatican or, something, you're trying to get into an attraction that 20,000 other people are trying to get into in that same day. So it costs more, okay? Cruise line sponsored excursions, they are convenient. They take care of everything. You show up where the numbers, say to be, they got everything else, okay? But they're pricey. That convenience comes at a cost, okay? If you're doing an independent tour, it is going to be cheaper, most likely, but it takes more planning, takes more research to make sure you know who you're going with, because if you're in Civitavecchia and you go to Rome, and your tour guide's, minivan breaks down, guess what? You're SOL. Meals important. I highly encourage people to explore the cuisine, particularly, in the Mediterranean. Oh my goodness. The French food, Italian food, it's amazing. Be prepared for it. Budget for it. Okay. It's going to add up fast. If you go to the touristy restaurants, you're going to be paying double or triple. If you want to go to an authentic French pastry shop. Great. Do you have francs? They might accept American dollars. Who knows? Bring a credit card. I mean, if it's a little mom and pop, they might not, but most of these places are going to take it, accept credit cards. So be prepared for that. Museums, churches, historical sites, they pretty much all charge entry fees these days. Be prepared for that. If you're on a planned excursion, that fee might already be paid as part of your excursion. Make sure you find out. Transportation options. If you're not doing a ship-sponsored excursion, do your research on this transportation. Figure out how to get from your cruise port to city center. Is it a bus? Is it a taxi cab? I mean, trying to take a taxi cab from Civitavecchia to Rome, 90-minute drive each way, it's going to cost you a small fortune. There are shuttle services. There are, there are buses. There are trains. There's ferries. There are ways to get around. Do the research ahead of time. Get your travel agent to do the research for you. He or she can plan it all out. All you got to do is say, yep, that's exactly what I want. Boom, done. Okay? Plan for crowds. The places that you want to go are popular. That's why you want to go there. Trevi Fountain, Colosseum, the Vatican, Eiffel Tower, all of those places, they're major attractions. They're going to be swamped with tourists, particularly in the high season. Do your best to get there early. Most of these sites, the peak times are arguably 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So if you can get there before 10 a.m., you should be golden. Should be able, I know that's going to be hard if your ship doesn't arrive into Civitavecchia until 8 a.m. You're not going to get to the Colosseum before 10 a.m. It's just not going to happen, okay? But some attractions, some excursions include skip the line passes where it might cost you an extra 20, 30, 50, $100 to get to skip the line for the Acropolis. But if that line is 2 hours long and your bus tour only has 30 minutes there, is it worth it? Consider some lesser known sites. There are amazing things to see, historical, cultural things to see in Rome, since I seem to be talking a lot about Rome today, that are not top tier. Of course, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but do some research. Figure out what's if you're in Rome, figure out what else there is to see in Rome besides the Colosseum, the Vatican, and what I think it's the Acropolis. Oh, Trevi Fountain. There are other things to see, other places that you can go that are just as historical, that are just as culturally, what's the word? I don't know. You know what I mean, though. Do some research. Figure out what else you can see if you want to avoid some of those crowds. Okay. Be prepared for some cultural differences. Okay. You're in foreign countries. They don't do things exactly like the United States or Canada. Okay. One thing, if you're in Spain or Italy, siesta. A lot of your shops and a lot of the restaurants close in the mid-afternoon from like 1 to 3 or 2 to 4 because that's their siesta time. They all go and take a nap. And not necessarily take a nap, but they all go take a break from their day at the hottest part of the day. Okay, know that. Plan for that. So if you're going to be in wherever, in the Amalfi Coast, in the middle of the afternoon, plan for something that you can do that you don't necessarily need a restaurant for or need, to see a museum, okay? Plan a picnic or, something, find somewhere that is going to be open, okay? Language barriers. English is spoken in a lot of tourist areas, but don't be that guy. Don't be that rude American. What do you mean you don't speak English? Well, you're in their country, okay? At the very least, learn a couple of phrases. Hello, goodbye, thank you, where's the bathroom? Okay, those things, that to me, that's absolute minimum. Okay, tipping here in the U.S. and some other countries, tipping is expected. Europe, no, not so much. Find out before you do it. A lot of times restaurants will have signs that say, no tipping allowed, or on the menu it'll say, service charge included, no tipping, please, something like that. Make sure because honestly, some people take it as an insult if you try to tip them. Watch out for hidden fees or onboard costs, because not everything on your cruise is included. Okay, this is more of a general cruise thing than just the Mediterranean, but specialty dining not included. Drink packages, with alcohol or specialty coffees, very rarely are included. The luxury lines, the Silver Seas, the The Seabourns, a lot of times there, you will be given alcohol for free during dinner, that kind of thing. Wi-Fi, laundry, hardly ever included. Those are all extra, okay? Onboard time. Sea days, to me, sea days on a Mediterranean cruise are super important for a couple of reasons. One, attend port talks. If you've ever been to the majority of the major cruise lines port talks in the Caribbean, it's more about where to shop and where not to shop than it is about what to see and and do. Okay. In the Med, it's very different. On Mediterranean cruises, those port talks tell you what to see, where to go, what to do. They give you maps. It's a lot more informative, and it is very helpful. Another reason sea days are important: relaxation and recuperation opportunities. Okay, you're going to be walking a lot. It's going to be warm. It's going to be hot. You're going to be tired. You're going to be cranky at the end of your one of your port days. If you have a sea day in there, take advantage of it. Sleep in, or if you can't sleep in and you get up early, take a nap. Hang out in the spa. Hang out in the pool. Recuperate. Drink a lot of water. Get rehydrated. Just relax in a quiet lounge somewhere. We don't always realize just how much energy it takes in a port until after that third port, and you faint because you're over dehydrated and you've walked 100,000 steps in 3 days. Okay. Next reason I love sea days, they have enrichment activities on the ships. So they're going to have cooking classes. They're going to have wine tastings. They're going to have, we already mentioned the destination talks, but if you're, about to go to Italy, there's probably going to be a cooking class on Italian food. If you're going to France, there's probably going to be a wine tasting on French wines. Attend those things. That helps you learn more about where you're going and what you're going to see and what to expect. Okay. And plan for those port days when on your sea day. Use that sea day. Make sure you review your itinerary. You know what time you got to be where, and make any last minute adjustments. If you're beat and you don't want to do that 2-hour self-guided walking tour after your 6-hour excursion, cancel that crap out. Use those sea days to recuperate from that last port day and prepare for the next port day. Yes, it's fun. Yes, it's a great time, but use it wisely. Now, this is the one strategy that a lot of first-time Mediterranean cruisers forget. Now, this doesn't apply only to Mediterranean cruises, but if you're from the U.S. and you're planning to do a Mediterranean cruise, this is all that much more important. Do not skip the travel insurance. This is literally the one tip that can save your trip. Get that insurance. Make sure it has medical coverage. Many of our health plans don't always cover international emergencies. Okay. So if you break your foot or something, you fall down and you've got to go to the hospital in, France or Italy, your healthcare might not cover it. So make sure the trip insurance you get has medical coverage. Make sure it has trip interruption coverage, because cancellations, delays, more common than you would think. We've all been seeing what's been going on in the last year or two with the airlines and, canceling this and delaying that. It happens as much in Europe as it does here. And think about it. You got this great 7-night itinerary plan. You do the smart thing. Your cruise leaves on a Sunday. You planned your flight so that it lands on Saturday. So you've got some time. Well, that's great. But then, blah, blah, blah airlines cancels your flight. And now you're scrambling. Yes, you plan on getting there 24 hours in advance. But arguably there's 4 flights a day from anywhere near where you live to where you're going. And, now you're scrambling to find the right set of flights to get you there in time. Okay. Trip interruption insurance, lifesaver. Okay. Make sure your insurance covers lost luggage. Can't even tell you how many times I've gotten phone calls. Hey, yeah, we made it to the cruise, but the airline lost our luggage. What do we do? Did you get the travel insurance? I don't, no. I would find the nearest, well, they don't have Walmart, they don't have Target. Find the nearest clothing store and buy yourself some clothes to get through the cruise. I mean, that's awful to say, but, anyway, now that you know how to book your Mediterranean cruise the right way, you need to make sure you don't miss out on the best dining experience available on board. If you skip this, you could end up dealing with crowded tables, lackluster meals, or missing out on some special dining perks. I'll show you how to get the best out of your ship's main dining room next.